Hi everyone, and welcome to my next video tutorial, which is going to be focused on learning how to import and export data using Django. Now, of course, as an example, I'm going to teach you how you can go ahead and import all of your data from an Excel spreadsheet as an example. And essentially, all of this data that you are importing from an Excel spreadsheet is going to be automatically converted into various objects within a set model, which we are going to create based on the Excel spreadsheet. And of course, then I also want to show you how you can export this data then from Django, and I'm going to show you how you can export it as a JSON file. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Now, of course, I will be sure to ensure that I add in chapters for this video, so you're more than welcome to, as usual, skip along to the necessary section. But for those that want to start from scratch, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing that you want to do is get started with your Django project. So I'm just going to, like usual, create a folder on my desktop and create dev. Great, let's open up my CMD. So let's look for CMD, my command prompt. Okay, and as I always say, you're more than welcome to set up your Django project in any way you see fit. This is just one way in which I'm doing it. Okay, let's clear that up, and we want to go into the dev directory, which is on the desktop. So we can say cd desktop/dev. There we are in that directory. Then we need to globally install the virtual env package, which is going to allow us to create virtual environments. So let's go ahead and install that globally on our system. Great, now that has been installed globally, we can go ahead and within the dev directory, we can say virtual env. So we're using the virtual env command. And now you want to assign a custom name for your virtual environment. So I'm going to call it venv. This can be anything you wish. Then we can press enter. It's just going to take a moment to create the virtual environment for us. So let's just be a bit patient here. And then after that, we can go ahead and install all of the various packages and dependencies such as Django. And of course, later on, we're going to install another package to allow us to import and export data with Django. Great, so our virtual environment was created, great. So CLS helps us to clear our terminal. If you're on Mac OS devices, you can just type in clear. But here we can say CLS. Now what we can do is head on over to the virtual environment. So you can say venv, that's the name of the custom name I gave my virtual environment, /scripts, /activate. And as you can see, our virtual environment is now active and we are now within it. Great, so now what we can do is install Django within our virtual environment. So you can say pip install Django. And that's going to take a while because of course Django has a lot of packages that come along with it as well. So let's just be patient while Django is installed within our virtual environment, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the rest of the process. All right, so welcome back. So as we can see now, Django has been installed in our virtual environment and we're good to go. So let's clear that up. And now what we want to do is we want to ensure that in our dev directory, we want to create a Django project. So I can say Django-admin, that's the command, and we can say start project, and then you want to give your project your name. Going to call mine Elevate, that's my project name, and press enter. Next, you want to cd into your Django project now. So you can say cd, which means change directory, and head on over to your directory here. So in Elevate, and we can clear that up. Right, so just make sure you have this command prompt open. So I'm just going to minimize it for now. And then I'm going to use a text editor such as Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to open that up. Okay, let's just be patient, and it should automatically be open for you, but if not, what you can do is go ahead and go to File and say Open Folder, and you just want to go to your desktop, open up Dev here, and say Select Folder. If there's any notification that come up, you can just close them, and as you can see, we are in that directory. So in Dev, we have our Django project called Elevate, and we have our virtual environment also here set into place. All right, so we just want to go ahead and run our server. So what you want to do now is say python manage.py run server. Okay, let's just give it a moment. All right, so as we can see, our server is up and running, so that's good to go. And what we can also see is if we go to our Django project again, we can see there what we have an SQLite database automatically created for us. Perfect. Now what we can do is of course head on to localhost. So you can go ahead and copy this, or you can type in the localhost here 127.0.0.0.1 and then map that to 8000. So what I'm going to do is just head on straight to it. I already have it here in my URL, but what you can also do if you're new to this, you can just literally copy that and paste that in. All right, there we go. So we can see our Django project is up and running and we are good to go. All right, so we've got that all set up and into place. So make sure you've got all of those basics set up and in place. Right, now the next thing that we need to prepare is we need to prepare our Excel spreadsheet. Now, of course, this isn't going to be a tutorial on Excel, okay? So what I would like you guys to do is go ahead and open up a simple Excel spreadsheet. I'm sure you guys can figure this part out. And all you need to do is literally go ahead and enter in some data. So I've named this file employee data. And as you can see here, I have my columns. So I have ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, age, and monthly underscore salary. So ID, I have 1, 2, and 3. First name, John, Kate, Jacob. Last name, Doe, Smith, Linus. Age, 36, 29, 32. And monthly salary here, I have R, so I'm just using the South African Rand here. So 27,000, 32,000, and 40,000 Rand. Now, of course, something very important that I do want to mention here. So whatever you have here at the top, so your column headings. So here, of course, ID first underscore name, last name, age, and monthly salary. This is going to essentially be the fields of our model. Now, since this is called employee data, it would make sense to create a model in Django called employee. As an example, and the fields or attributes that you need to use need to be exactly the same as the, you could say, column headings here, or the fields that you have here for this Excel spreadsheet. So by default, when it comes to models, Django automatically assigns you an ID, okay, but we still need to specify that. Then of course we have the first name, last name, age, and monthly salary. These are attributes or fields, you could say, that we need to add into our model, but don't worry, I will reference it. So all you need to do for now is make sure that you have some data to work with in an Excel spreadsheet. Ensure that you add in a name to your file and just enter in some data. So make sure in the first row that you have here, okay, that you add in the fields that are going to correlate with the exact same fields that you use for your model, and then go ahead and enter in some data. Now, the package that we're going to utilize is very clever, because what it's going to do, it's going to pick each of these records and it's going to transform it as individual objects in Django. So I'll show you momentarily what happens. But just make sure you enter in some data. Of course, you're more than welcome to pause the video and just go ahead and enter in the same data if you so desire. So make sure you add that to your Excel spreadsheet. Okay, now once you've done that, you're going to want to go ahead and install the import export package from Django. So let's go ahead and head on straight there. So we want to go ahead and install this package. So Django import export. So it's going to allow us to import and export data. And this is going to also come included with admin integration. So you can go ahead and in your virtual environment, so let's stop our server. We can say pip install Django import export. So it's going to take a moment, and it's actually going to install a lot of sub packages that come along with it. Okay, let's just give it a moment. Okay, and once that's been installed, we're going to then go ahead and add that to our list of installed apps. So it's been installed. Let's clear this up. And you can just head on over to your Django project in settings.py. And you just, we just want to scroll down to installed apps here. And you can just add this at the bottom. So it's going to be called import underscore export. Just add in a comma right there. All right, so you want to add in this app here according to that package that we installed. So import underscore export. Great, so we've got that set. Now we want to create a model. So in order to do so, we first need to create a Django app. So what you can do is go ahead and run the following command, which is going to be Django -admin start app, and I'm going to call it CRM as an example. So I'm going to create an app. Perfect. And we can just see that app is right here. So CRM, great. And we can just add that to our list of installed apps as well. And if we were to rerun our server again, we can see that we still have some migrations to migrate. Let's just see, let's give it a moment. Okay, we have these default migrations, and these pertain to all of these default installed apps that we have here already. So we just want to go ahead and make those migrations. So what you can do is you can go ahead and just say python manage.py migrate. So go ahead and run that command. So migrate all of those default database files, and we're good there. And you can just rerun your server again just to make sure everything is working fine. Okay, just do that. And there we go. We can see it's fine. Head on over to Django here and just refresh a few times. Just make sure it's all right. Okay, so we've got that set up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and create our model. So we can head on to our app. So my app's called CRM. Go to models.py and we just want to now create a model. Okay, so let's go up. Now choose a model that, choose a class name that you think is going to be appropriate according to the data that you have. So mine is based on employee data. It would only make sense to create a model called employee. And of course, employee is going to then have various fields or attributes, which of course makes sense to have for an employee. So what we can do is we can go ahead and first define our model. So I'm going to say class employee, and I'm going to inherit models.model. Now for our attributes, so let's see what we have first. So ID, by default, Django is already going to set up for us. We have first underscore name. So that's the first thing we need to set up. So you can just say first underscore name equals models.char field. And we need to set a max length here. And I'm just going to set it to 150. Then we have last underscore name, and we can say models.char field. And add in the parameter for max length, and we can set that as 225. Then, of course, we have age. So we can put age, and I'm just going to use a char field. So it would be best to use char fields here, because with the package, you do sometimes run into a problem when you use integer field, but it shouldn't cause much of a problem for you. And what we want to do is just set max length here. So it doesn't really matter what we set. I'm just going to put, let's say 100. And the last one is monthly salary. So monthly underscore salary equals models.char field max. Thanks. Let's just set that to, I'm just going to set it to 10,000. Okay. All right, so we've got all of our attributes here. Now, something very important to remember, make sure that the way that you phrased your fields here or your attributes, okay, are exactly the same as on this first row. So where you see first underscore name, last underscore name, age, and monthly underscore salary, make sure it's exactly the same. Please make sure it's not different, okay? It needs to be the same, because I have seen instances where it does sometimes get case sensitive, so make sure it's exactly the same. So if you were to say first name, you're probably going to have an issue. So make sure it's exactly the same as the headings. So these need to be the same. It needs to be declared the same way as you declare it in your models, okay? Or else Django is not going to be able to transform these individual records here as objects in Django. So very important. And like I said, with the ID, Django automatically sets an ID for us. We don't need to explicitly define that. So once you've got this set, you can go ahead and just stop your server, and you can just say Python manage.py, make migrations. Okay, it's created that model, and we can of course see the data. So if you go to your directory under the migrations folder in your CRM app, under initial py, we can see here that we have an ID. So this is what I meant. The ID is automatically declared for us. We have the first name, the last name, the age, and the monthly salary. All of that has been defined. All right, so make sure that you have everything in place. Now we can just go ahead and migrate this model to our SQLite database. So what you can do now is you can just say Python manage.py migrate and push this model that we created here from this file to our database, and there we go, it's been pushed. Great, we've got that set up. Next thing you want to do is set up our admin.py file. So this package, as you may have read, it works with admin integration here. So if we head on here, you can see it includes admin integration. So this is very helpful. So what we can do is head on to our admin.py file. And the first thing you want to do is import your model. So our model is employee. So you can just say from.models import employee. So you can import the employee model. Then you want to say admin.site.register. And you want to pass in employee. Now this is sufficient for the employee model, but of course what we want to do is we want to utilize this package along with it. So we need to have an option to click on a button to import and to export data. So in order to do that, we need to add it in along with the employee model. So we need to register this accordingly. So right here, what we can do is we can say from import underscore export admin, we can go ahead and say import. Let's make this bigger. import, so capital here, export, model, admin. Okay, and then right here, you can just add in a comma next to employee, and you can go ahead and copy this and paste that in like so. So you need to ensure that when you register your employee model, you are also registering the import export model admin as well, along with employee, just to ensure that it gets customized. Right, very important to do that, so make sure you've got that set. Right, so once we've done that, we need to go ahead and create a super user. So we can say Python manage.py create super user. So this is going to allow us to log into our admin page. I'm going to leave it on the default. Email I'm going to skip, so you just want to press enter, then enter in a password. Enter, and again. And run your server. Right, now we can head on over to Django admin. So now what we can do is go to our localhost and put in /admin. And all you want to do now is you want to go ahead and sign in with your super user's credentials and proceed to log in. Right, so what you want to do now is log in. All right, and as you can see here, we have our CRM app and we have registered our employees model, or employee model, should I rather say. And now we have the opportunity to manually add in employee objects, or we can go ahead and import a range of employee objects by saying import. And then once we've imported this data, we can go ahead and export it. So let's have a look at our Excel spreadsheet. And as you can see here, I have my ID, first name, last name, age, and monthly salary. These are my fields. And of course, as you can see, I have 3 records which are going to be translated in Django as objects once we upload this file, which I'm going to save on my desktop, and it is referred to as employee data. So make sure you've added in some data to your spreadsheet and make sure that you have given it a name and that you have the location in place. So now I just want to go to my Django admin page and say import, and we can go ahead and say choose file. And as you can see here, this importer is going to import the following fields, such as ID, first underscore name, last underscore name, age, and monthly underscore salary. Make sure that they correlate with the following headings here. And if they do, you can choose a file. Select your Excel spreadsheet, say open, and you can see it will automatically recognize the format that you have, and you can say submit. And as you can see now, we can see a preview here of all of the data that's going to be imported in our employee model. So we can see now we've got the ID, so 1, 2, 3, first underscore name, last underscore name, age, and monthly salary. And all of this data, as you can see, exactly correlates with what we have stipulated here in our table here. So you can see it matches perfectly, and it's exactly the data that we are wanting to import. So if you're happy, you can say confirm import. And as you can see, we now have 3 objects because, of course, this package automatically picks up that, okay, these are the column headings, in other words, the fields, and these are all identified as objects. So we have 3 objects, 3 IDs, and we can see they're all here. So if we go to employee object 1, we can see it's John Doe, 27,000 Rand, and that correlates with row 1. Row 2, let's take a look. That will be object 2. So if we go to employees, object 2, we can now see we have Kate Smith, 32,000 Rand, and that's row 2, and row 3, Jacob Linus. So let's go to employees here and go to 3, and we can see that is Jacob Linus. And you can see all of that data has been imported. Great. Now let's say for argument's sake you want to export this data now. So it's now been sent to Django and treated as an object. You can go ahead and say export. And you can choose the format that you want to export this as. So as a .csv file, XLS, JSON, YAML, HTML. So I'm going to just say JSON and say submit. And of course, I can see that that has, of course, been set up correctly. So we can open up this employee JSON file. So it's going to be called, the name starts with the model name, so employee, and then of course the date and time .json. So if I open that up, I can now see all of my data here is in JSON format. All right, so that's how you can go ahead and import your data in Django from an Excel spreadsheet, and then how you can export it in a JSON format. All right, guys, so we can see all of that correlates, especially with the IDs that we have and all of that data. All right, everyone, so that is it for this video tutorial. So I hope it was helpful to you. So that's how you can go ahead and import and export data using Django, and most specifically with Excel spreadsheets, and of course to export it with JSON. All right, guys, so that's it. And as always, thank you for the support and see you next time.